Right now, somewhere you have felt completely alone. Maybe in a crowded room. Maybe scrolling a phone at 2 a.m. You tell yourself nobody has ever felt this cut off. But the real answer is far stranger. The loneliest human being in recorded history wasn't in a room. He wasn't even on Earth. His name was Michael Collins. In July of 1969, while two of his crewmates walked on the moon, he orbited alone above them in a tiny command module called Columbia. Every 48 minutes, his orbit carried him behind the far side of the moon. Radio contact cut out completely. No voice from Houston. No voice from his crewmates. No voice from the entire human species. For 48 minutes at a time, he was farther from another living person than anyone in the 200,000-year history of Homo sapiens. Sit with that for a second. Every human who has ever lived has had, at minimum, the sky to look up at, and know someone else was under it too. Collins didn't have that. He had a curved gray horizon and a radio full of static. Here's the part that should mess with you. He wasn't panicking. In interviews later, he described the solitude as, quote, not terror, but something closer to peace. How does a person go from potential isolation record holder to feeling calm? That question is where this gets interesting. Psychologists have studied extreme isolation for decades, long before Collins ever strapped into a rocket. Peter Suedfeld, a psychologist who spent years researching how humans handle isolated and confined environments, found something counterintuitive. Total isolation doesn't always break people. Sometimes it does the opposite. It sharpens focus. It strips away noise. Suedfeld's work on what's called restricted environmental stimulation showed that a controlled dose of isolation can actually improve mood and cognitive clarity, not destroy it. Collins wasn't trapped. He had a job, a checklist, a window. His mind had somewhere to go. Compare that to loneliness on Earth. Loneliness down here usually isn't about distance. It's about disconnection while surrounded by people. You can be in a packed subway car and feel more alone than Collins did behind the moon because he knew with total certainty exactly why he was alone and exactly when it would end. Down here, most of us don't get that certainty. We just get the ache, with no orbit to explain it. Nick Kanas, a psychiatrist who has spent decades studying astronaut mental health for NASA, found something else worth knowing. The danger for astronauts almost never comes from being physically alone. It comes from something called psychological distance, the slow emotional drift that happens between astronauts and the people they left behind on Earth. Letters take longer to feel real. Video calls start to feel like watching a movie of your old life instead of living it. The body stays in orbit. The heart starts to lag behind, like a satellite signal with too much delay. That's the twist nobody expects. The scariest kind of loneliness isn't the 48 minutes with zero contact. It's the slow erosion of connection while contact technically still exists. Sound familiar? It should. You've probably felt that exact drift staring at a message thread that used to feel warm and now feels like static. Now here's where it gets stranger. Collins wasn't just alone, he was technically unreachable by anyone in history for that stretch, including every emperor, every explorer, every person who has ever crossed an ocean by ship. He out-aloned Magellan. He out-aloned every Antarctic expedition combined. And yet, when he came home, he wasn't remembered as the astronaut who suffered. He was remembered as the astronaut with the best seat in the house. Because here's what almost nobody talks about. While Armstrong and Aldrin were making history on the surface, Collins was seeing something they weren't. He watched the entire Earth, all 8 billion future people, all of human history, all of it, shrink down to a small blue coin behind the moon's edge. then disappear, then reappear. This orbital moment even has a name in psychology now. The overview effect, first formally described by researcher Frank White after interviewing dozens of astronauts. It's a documented cognitive shift that happens when someone sees the whole Earth at once, borders gone, conflicts invisible, just one fragile object floating in black. Astronauts who experience it often report a permanent change in how they value connection. Not less desire for people, but more. So the man with the least human contact in history came back with the most expanded sense of what humans mean to him. That is the part that should stop you in your tracks. Isolation didn't make him value people less. It made the whole planet feel like his neighborhood. Collins later joked that he wasn't lonely. He was just enjoying some fresh space, a little orbital pun he'd repeat in interviews for the rest of his life. Because even 240,000 miles from home, the man never lost his sense of humor. It's a stellar example of how attitude, not distance, decided how the isolation actually felt. Think about what that means for you. You are never 48 minutes from the entire species with zero chance of contact. You are never behind a literal moon. Any ache of loneliness you feel is in the most literal sense more reachable than what Collins survived and came back smiling from. That doesn't make your loneliness less real. It makes it more solvable. You have a signal. He didn't, and he still came out the other side lighter, not heavier. There's a reason this story keeps resurfacing decades later. It's not really about space. It's a controlled experiment the universe accidentally ran for us. Take one person, remove every other human from contact. See what's left. What was left in Collins' case wasn't despair. It was gravity in the emotional sense, pulling him back toward everyone he'd left behind, stronger than before. Modern researchers studying isolation, including teams that prepare astronauts for future Mars missions, keep circling back to the same finding. It's not the absence of people that damages someone. It's the absence of meaning inside that absence. Collins had meaning. He had a mission, a window, and a return date carved into the math of orbital mechanics. Most human loneliness lacks that clean ending point, and that's the actual danger, not the distance itself. So next time you feel like the room is too quiet or the message thread has gone cold, remember the man who orbited alone behind the moon, further from another human than anyone in 200,000 years, and came home not broken but recalibrated. He didn't outrun his loneliness, he out-orbited it. Right now you might feel completely alone, but the real answer is far less strange than you think. You have never once been as far from another person as Michael Collins was, and he came back fine, more than fine. He came back reminded of exactly how much everyone down here was worth orbiting home to.